I want you to look at these videos here and tell me what you think. When you see these two clips side by side, what stands out to you? What's different and what's the same? And which do you prefer? Which one seems younger and which one looks healthier? To me, I think, well, clearly this is the same person. Almost like looking into a mirror, you might say. Then I noticed the color is a bit more muted in one, and the backdrop is different, though it's clear both were filmed in the same room. The shirts are different too, the mic is the same. That's the surface level stuff, easy to see. There's something else going on here though, something deeper, harder to define. No offense to the guy on the left with the collared shirt, but when comparing the two side by side, the left guy almost looks like he has something wrong with him, like he's sick or run down. Maybe if the two videos weren't playing right next to each other it wouldn't be so noticeable, but seen as they are here, there's just something off about the guy on the left, and he seems really uncomfortable. He was. Let's get into that. First, yes, these are both me. They're both actual recordings I made with my camera, no AI or anything like that. Second, in both, I was at a point where I'd been cutting weight for a few months, just about 2 months each actually, and I weighed just about the same in both too, right around 149 pounds. Third, the lighting setup is nearly identical in both, same light set to the same brightness, I'm standing in almost the same spot, just a couple steps to the side, I'm using the same camera set to the same standard setting. The only real difference on the recording end of things is the lens. They're both high quality, but I am using a different camera lens in each, and that does change things. We do have to keep that in mind. Aside from that though, surface level, the conditions are almost identical. That leaves us with the question then, what's wrong with the guy on the left? Are these like 5 years apart or something? And if not, how did the guy on the right age so much so quickly? Well, there's the trick. These two videos are only 8 months apart, and the left one is actually from earlier. The left side guy is 8 months younger. How? I've been thinking about that, and once I saw the truth, it was so obvious, just clear as day. Everything comes down to nutrients. On the left side, I was very deficient in pretty much everything, and on the right, there is abundance. What's different between the two? Easy. One of these guys is starving, and the other isn't. Over the last couple years, I've noticed something changing in the online fitness space. I think it's generally for the greater good, but when applied incorrectly, it can be a very negative thing. Back in the early to mid 2010s, everything was dominated by a kind of power building mindset. Focus on lifting heavy, eat lots of food, and don't worry too much about staying super lean. One of the most famous articles I can remember was about how traps are the new abs, something I still wholeheartedly agree with, by the way. Traps are awesome, even though I like having abs too, and I'm all for that lifting heavy part. In general, that time was a season of plenty. It worked, though overall the approach was much more focused on performance than it was on health. That's the switch I've seen. Maybe it's just the section of online fitness I hang out in, but these days it really seems like health is at the forefront, ahead of everything else. Many people have realized there's no point in being jacked and strong if you just die after a couple years. Many haven't realized that, but then I don't pay attention to those people. With the shift in mindset towards health first, the biggest change I've seen is with diet, more specifically with calorie restriction. There seems to be this kind of reverence these days for eating less food, as if restraint itself is an indicator of health. It makes sense in a way. If you eat less, you don't have to digest as much food, which is supposed to lead to a longer lifespan or something like that due to less stress on the body. Maybe that's true, and one-to-one it makes way more sense restricting than it does smashing Big Macs all day. This shift in mindset seems to be a kind of final frontier for the natural lifter. Put in the time and build the muscle, then eventually get lean and focus on health and performance in the gym rather than always seeking more size forever, whatever the cost. It's great, and often that size shows up anyway. Back to the problem, eating less and getting leaner is likely healthier in general when compared with being obese, but when done incorrectly, when you pair being lean with a severe lack of nutrients, things can go wrong. You end up with that older version of me, underfed and strange looking. If the goal is health, I'd put my money on being slightly overweight with good nutrition over lean and malnourished any day of the week. Let me quickly make something clear before moving forward. If you're significantly overweight, say 50 pounds or more, most of what I'm about to say doesn't apply in the same way. At that point, things are critical, and getting the weight off is far more important than any of these details. Once you're closer to being lean though, maybe if you have another 10 to 20 pounds to lose, that's where this starts to matter a lot more. That's the stage where how you lose the weight becomes important. Just wanted to mention that so nothing I say here gets taken the wrong way. In the left side video, I was cutting weight with very low calories. I'd have protein cereal in the morning, which was about 800 to 900 calories. If you watched my recent full day of eating video, it was the same breakfast I have now, minus a few things to keep the calories lower. Then later in the day, I'd have a plain can of beans and a tortilla, which was somewhere around 500, maybe 600 calories, and that was it. Altogether, we're talking max 1,500 calories per day, and likely lower some days. I definitely could have increased the nutrient density of that diet by adding vegetables, no denying that, but at a certain point, 1,500 calories is still 1,500 calories, and if you're already pretty lean, that extreme deficit will start to show eventually. If not now, then soon. We may romanticize the idea of eating less, possibly partly in response to all the overeating that has gone on these last couple decades, but there is a point where too much restriction becomes a bad thing, where you end up looking drained of color, skin tone off, face abnormally old and strangely misshapen with a general look of discomfort about you, whether you're aware of it or not. This is where shredded gets a bad rap, and where those guys who don't want to cut weight are justified in rationalizing staying above 20% body fat forever. It's not a good look. Restriction is good, but too much restriction is not. Okay, but what if you want to get lean? Don't you need a low-calorie diet? No, you don't. Remember what I said earlier about weight loss? In both videos, I had been dropping weight for about 2 months, and I had made it to just about the same weight in both too, right around 149 pounds. Why do I look so different then? Well, here's where things get interesting. In the old video, as I said, I was just barely surviving on 1,500 calories per day. It's what was needed to drop the weight at that point. In the recent video, however, where I had just dropped 8 pounds, want to know how much I was eating? How much I'm still eating? Nearly 4,000 calories every single day, and I'm still getting leaner. 4,000, yeah, more than double what I was eating 8 months ago. The reason I look so much healthier in the recent video is because I am now thriving rather than just surviving. This is sustainable for a lifetime. I'm never overly hungry anymore. I just eat at the same times every day, enjoy the food, fulfill my basic nutritional needs, and get on with my life. In that old video, I was always hungry. I felt like I was doing okay. I felt like I had decent energy and everything, but compared to now, man, that was just way worse. Both paths got me to the same weight in the end. 4,000 calories and 1,500. The difference is now I get to feel like a king all day. Before I was deficient, and now I am living in abundance. I get to be lean and I get to eat the food too. And these videos here are clear proof of how much better off I am eating more. For me at least, in this exact circumstance, extreme restriction was not the healthy choice. Okay, but how though? Sure, eating more food so your body has more nutrients makes sense. Digestion and everything aside, the logic is there. But how do you lose weight eating that much food? It's actually really easy. All you have to do is change your baseline from rest to movement. Right now, I guarantee for 99% of all people, the base state, the place you revert to when given the chance, is rest. Sitting or lying down, resting. All you have to do is flip that. When given the chance, move rather than sitting still, and that's it. Maybe that doesn't seem like much, or perhaps it seems like too much. I'll get to that in a sec, but that shift in behavior changes everything. Just become the type of person who moves all day rather than sitting around. I understand that might sound strange. Maybe there's a voice somewhere in the back of your head justifying your lack of movement by saying, that can't be healthy. Maybe you're triggered by my use of easy, just, and all you have to do, because in your mind I'm downplaying the commitment. You may be thinking, must be nice. I couldn't do this because, insert excuse. I sit for work, I am too old, my body is somehow special, and my metabolism doesn't function the same as everyone else's. Or maybe your thought is, that's not right. We aren't supposed to move all day. No one does that. To that last part, I'd say, yeah, you're right. Pretty much no one does. And you know what? It shows. Look at most people. Overweight, unhealthy, and sedentary. You're not trying to be like them, are you? Why would you use their behavior as a gauge? Being lean and healthy is not normal these days. To be shredded is to be exceptional. And to reference a quote I really like, to be exceptional, you must be the exception, which means you won't be normal, and normal people will find you abnormal. Listen, I'm not saying it needs to be all at once or anything like that. All I am saying is start working towards becoming the type of person who moves, hold constant motion as the highest ideal, take every opportunity you get to move your body, and over time, everything will change. This is possible, even for you, and it really is the best. If the goal is getting lean and being healthier, rather than taking the typical route and keeping the calories super low and accepting that low energy, low movement state of being, try upping the calories and committing to movement. It's better that way. Look at these 2 videos and tell me that isn't the most obvious thing you've seen all day. It's right there. I mean, look at them. In that old video, I was spending most of my day at my desk standing still or lying in bed editing videos. Yes, I'll admit, up until a few months ago, I actually edited every video on this channel on my phone so I could lie in bed while I worked. I was moving so little, the low calories were necessary to cut weight. Now I hardly ever sit. It actually feels strange to sit down now. It's kind of crazy how quickly you adapt. Switching my baseline to movement rather than rest has allowed me to reach my best physique yet. I'm lean and feel great, and I'm never hungry. I hope you'll give this idea a shot. You can do it on your own. I made a few videos recently going over the power of basic walking for getting lean. Here's one on screen now if you're interested. If you're stuck though, or feeling lost, this is exactly what I help guys do. Get lean without starving themselves by building a lifestyle around movement and simple training with sandbags and calisthenics. Check out my coaching page if you're interested in working with me one-on-one. I'd like to help a few more guys get lean before summer. Anyway, good luck. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.